This is Bob McGinley. A couple weeks ago, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Steve Koo. Steve is the CEO of Getaway Space. Getaway Space is the next generation of electric vehicle charging station. If you've ever driven an electric vehicle and found the need to go and charge the car, whether it's before you run out of battery or you have to return it as a rental car, you know the challenge of finding an EV charging station that's number one, available, number two, working, number three, in a safe location, and number four, that has some level of comfort and accommodations so that you have something to do or someplace to go while the vehicle is sitting there being charged. I think Steve has come up with a pretty creative and pretty innovative solution for the electric vehicle charging station of the future. Enjoy the conversation. Steve is a great guy. He's an electrical engineer, so a man of my heart from a technology perspective. He's got some really good ideas. He's kind of really thought through a lot of the problems, and I think you'll find the conversation very interesting. Steve Koo, Getaway Space. Really cool idea. You and I met a couple weeks ago via LinkedIn and got to talking a little bit. I found your idea really compelling, and then I had an experience that we talked about now already with some of the things that you're trying to do. So it really struck me as a kind of coincidence in timing that I had this happen to me. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But why don't you give us a little bit about your background, what you're doing these days, where you came from, and why you came up with this idea.
Sure. I'm a first generation immigrant from Korea. When I was young, I followed my parents from Korea to United States and went to public schools, went to University of Southern California, got my electrical engineering degree, worked for Motorola for a couple of years, and went back for a master's degree in electrical engineering. And ever since, I have been building electronics products for various companies, and found a company called K-Tech Telecom about 25 years ago, and I ended up building, designing semiconductor chips for them. Our customer at the time was Samsung Electronics, and one of the design criteria was to design the chip for at the time that it was a trend. They were preparing for high definition television at the time.
Yep.
So, we spent the time, I got a contract, I built it, designed it, produced a semiconductor chip. So it all worked fine, but when it was all done, they needed the equipment to be used to test the demodulator. So I had to build a modulator as a test equipment. So I did that. It took me about 6 months or whatever. But after that was done, it was just sitting there, and the contract was finished, and I had to continue K-Tech. But it turned out that the market opened up for new HD TVs in the marketplace in the United States, and all manufacturers of television was looking for a test unit to generate HD TV signal, and I had it sitting there in my lab, and I just packaged it up and started selling it, and that's how I sent my kids to school, and I continued the business as a serial entrepreneur, and successfully provided equipment for broadcasting all across the United States for what's known as a translator, the repeater products that FCC required. So, and these equipment, they're not supposed to die right away. They're supposed to be high reliable products. So I designed it so that the only mechanical component of the product is the push buttons on the front panel, and the fan in the back that will cool the unit. But it turns out that the fan is the one that causes all the issues because it's the only mechanical device. And because of that, it causes heat to rise, and when it dies, it draws more current, and that causes the equipment to go back. So my forte is engineering. I know a little bit about reliable electronics, how to build it, how to design it, how to maintain it, and that's my background.
Yeah.
So long story short, fast forward 3 years ago, 2021. So I bought, no, I leased a electric vehicle because it was first thing. I thought it was neat. Decarbonization of the air. I live in Los Angeles, so I have a hard time breathing air during the summer when the smog is pretty bad here in LA.
Yeah.
So I was interested in, so I drove EV. It was good. I didn't have a charger installed at home, but so I had to go outside and charge it at Target and at the time Electrify America at Walmart's
Yeah.
around the town. And they still do have these chargers at the Walmart, but I learned that they don't work. Sometimes you plug in, you connect, it'll talk, it'll communicate, it'll go back and forth, and you'll have this circle thing going around, around, and around on the LCD screen. You will not connect. And so, I mean, there's no like video training program or anything that you can watch. They only have like phone number. So you call up, you're on the phone for like half an hour talking to an operator. She'll do the reset on the equipment. I mean, it's a nightmare. And that was 3 years ago. Nowadays, fast forward 3 years now, it's 2024 now. Now you go to most of these Electrify America and targets that allows you to do public charging. DC fast charging is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Now what's going on is that there are so many EVs on the street now, you have to wait in line.
Yeah.
So you get there, I mean, there's only like 10 chargers in the parking lot, right? And then you go there, there's waiting lines. I have to like get in the back of the line. It takes like 20, 30 minutes to get to the front of the line because it takes like half an hour for each car to be charged. So I do that and I get there. Still, some chargers are broken and they don't connect. So I now have to fight the waiting lines, and the chargers are still broken and they're not fixed. I don't know why they don't fix it right away, but I guess I kind of have a guess as to why they don't fix it or why they can't fix it right away. It's just too many places to repair, too many things are going bad. They're building EV charging infrastructure all across the United States,
Yeah.
and we have a huge land in the U.S. and you just get spread thin, and you have some limited resources. So, and these parts are not in stock anytime unless you plan ahead. So, availability of the parts is important. Availability of the electricians at local areas is also important, and they are busy now because of all these infrastructure build out and all these residents are calling on them for electricians to come to their house and install EV chargers at home. But they're busy. So you call them out, they're busy for like next 6 months. They don't have a schedule. So that's why these chargers are not getting repaired.
Yeah.
So I understand how all those things work. So, and I got to think, okay, well, there's a problem, there's a solution, and that is a business opportunity. So I created Getaway Space. It's been almost a year now. And here I am doing the fundraising to build out the facility.
Well, cool. Yeah, because I had a similar experience. I've never really I've been in electric vehicles. I don't own one. My wife and I 2 weeks ago had to go out to North Carolina for a wedding, and I've been a Hertz Gold member now for probably 20 years, right? Because I did so much time and travel when I was at IBM. Um, and I just went and rented a car. I asked for the typical mid-size, didn't, want anything special. I didn't request an electric vehicle. But when I get to Hertz in North Carolina, and it's Friday night, there's already traffic. We've got about 2 hours to drive. My name's up on the board for the gold, and all I typically do is just walk behind the walk down the aisle and pick the car I want and just drive away. So I'm with my wife. She sees a car. She's like, "Oh, that one looks nice." So we jump in the first car we see, which is a Kia. Throw the bags in the back, get in, drive out. Do the license check and everything. And we're, getting on the freeway. And she says, "Hey, this is an electric vehicle." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't even notice, right? I mean, it doesn't really drive any differently. It was a nice little car." And then it struck me. I was like, well, this could be a problem, right? What am I going to do to charge this thing? And that literally became the entire weekend for the next 72 hours is where do I go find a charger for this thing? And how do I do this? And we could not find any charging stations. We had to go to a Publix grocery store where they had one in the parking lot. Um, but it was not a fast charger, and we were already below 50% on the car, and it took 7 hours to go get it fully charged. So we would have to spend all of our spare time at the Publix grocery store walking through, meandering through the aisles. We didn't, have to buy groceries, but you had to be shopping in the store to use the charging station, right? So that was the deals. So it was one of the most stressful weekends in a while, just because I didn't know. I said, what do we do, right? I mean, if it dies, do you just get an Uber back to the airport and leave it on the side of the road and tell Hertz it's dead? Go get it. So I just there's so many things I think we need to think through in this, as we go down this road. And how do you handle these things as you go forward? And that's kind of why, as I was going through all this drama over the weekend, you kept popping back in my head, right? I was like, all right, if Steve was in North Carolina and we already had Getaway Space kind of, out there, this wouldn't be an issue. I could just go someplace and make this work. But yeah, so that was my story for how electric vehicles can kind of they can really be a problem if you don't have the infrastructure readily available to go and get those things charged. So I think your idea is really striking, and there's a couple things that you're doing that I thought were really kind of innovative and thoughtful, right? Because you already mentioned the problems around repairs and those types of things, and then waiting in line and other things, right? So why don't you tell us some of the other facets of go away space that you're kind of thinking through?
So Getaway Space is going to combine the charging in the parking lot with the lounge and the rest area. So it is sort of like marrying the airline lounge style rest area
Yeah,
with a charging facility right next to each other. Instead of being located far away, you know how when you go charge in the public stations or public EV charging, you notice how far the EV stations are located from the front of the stores?
yeah,
Uh, that's intentional. Because the location of these chargers has to be close to the transformer, what's known as an electrical power outlet of the parking lot, and they're usually located far away because of the fire hazard and whatnot. You don't want to put that in a busy location.
yeah,
Plus, it's a high voltage, so you don't want people to wandering around within a few feet. Safe zone is like 8 feet all around it, and so they're usually located far away from the stores, and so that's where they place the chargers because the DC fast chargers take up a whole lot of power. So what they do is, and they're placed together in a close proximity with one another to save money because the longer the wire, I mean, these wires are like 1 inch thick.
yeah,
So, and these are copper wires in ground, they tend to run very high, thousands of dollars per foot or something. Because of so much copper that is inside these cables, and they carry a whole lot of power. That's the reason for it. And if you use a narrow, thin wire, then it'll blow up, it'll melt away because of the heat that is created by the current that it has to carry.
yeah,
So that's one of the reasons that that and there are certain locations that these are placed. And so Getaway Space puts the lounge near the chargers, and we look for those. What we do is we instead of building from ground up, because ground up build is takes a long time because you have to find the dirt, you have to get permits, you have to spend a lot of money buying the property, which is a whole new process and delay. So what we do is we actually just lease a shopping mall that has the right amount of power available in the area, the parking spaces available in the shopping mall, and the retail space in close proximity within within like 1 minute, no more than a 1 minute walking distance between maybe 20 or 30 parking spaces, or 20 or 30 car length or less.
Yeah.
So that it's quick we want to make it easy to get to the rest area or our lounge and provide you meals and rest areas. And it's up to the customers. They could rest, do nothing, and just just empty out and be restful. Or you can continue to work. You can find yourself a desk and you can just log on to a free Wi-Fi and just keep on working if you want to. So you have two options of doing that. And while you're doing that, we also offer organic meals supplied by Earth Cafe. Earth Cafe is a organic cafe, well known here in Los Angeles, and we're partnered with them. They've been around since 1989, so they're well known. A lot of people follow them and they're really good with organic meals, organic coffee, salad, pastries. Their pastries no more older than a day, and so every day we have to throw get a fresh ones and then to work like that. But while it's a little bit more expensive, it tastes really good.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to offer.
Yeah.
The Getaway Space also offers like security, 24/7 security. Like anywhere else, it's very important to maintain the lounge and charging space to be as safe as we can make it. And while I don't expect my staff to be wearing any armed response of any kind, but I expect us to be having walkie-talkies and cell phones and be able to communicate with police and nearby personnel who can actually deal with this kind of thing. But the idea is to put a lot of security cameras, a lot of security personnel in such a way that customers coming to our location will feel safe.
Yeah, I really think that's a critical factor. And there's some other things like you have all the spaces are covered, right? Because you picked up on the fact that a lot of the EV charging stations just get blown away with the sun, right?
Yeah, so it's critical to have some kind of a roof over the equipment. It not only protects customers, when it's rain or when it's hot outside, the shade gives you some comfort, but it goes the same way for the equipment as well. In the equipment, especially the power equipment, they're sensitive to heat and temperature. So it's critical to maintain certain temperature. And in California, I mean, we get like during the summer in July, sometimes our temperatures go up as high as 100 degrees or more, 105, 110. Sometimes once in a great while we get 120, but that happens like once in 10 years. But still, it does get hot. And in any given summer time period between June to September, it's pretty hot. So having the roof over the chargers, at least some kind of shade over the equipment, will create the environment so that it'll last longer. And that's one of the key methods in maintaining the equipment.
Gotcha.
Other than some of the bells and whistles and tricks that I have under my belt to maintain the equipment well.
So you got security covered. You got a place to go relax and kind of catch up on things while the vehicle's charging. How are you going to deal with the lines? Are you just going to have enough charging stations to kind of deal with a certain volume?
Well, we have reservation system so that um, the efficiency of the system will go up high as much as 30% if you have a reservation system. This is why golfers have peak time reservations.
Yeah.
Once you start having the reservation to allocate certain period of time to the members of Getaway Space, it will make it much more efficient because you don't have to waste time waiting for it. Of course, if you're gonna show up, there's a little bit of penalty so that you don't do that again. You don't make a habit of not showing up, but having the reservation system is going to be the key in ensuring that a charger will be there waiting for you and for your exclusive use during that time. And we intend to make it available so that it's easier to access to our system. Now, granted, eventually we may get very busy and all of our 30 chargers may be occupied and then they'll have to wait. But hopefully, with the reservation system, that will be a chance of that happening is lessened. But then again, hopefully Tesla will build another one nearby so that we can all share the customers and we can
Yeah.
all provide. It's like gas station, you go to any gas station nearby, on a corner, busy corner street, you have gas station on all four corners of the cross section. And I'm sure it's going to be like that as more people drive EVs in the future. You're going to need to have more of these EV stations, just like it did gas stations 20, 30 years ago, and they still build gas stations now. But in California, there are 1 million EVs that needs to be charging every day.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of cars.
Yeah, it really is. And it's just
And
growing
a
every
huge
day, right?
opportunity for everyone.
Yeah. And so you mentioned membership. So how's all that going to work? Do you pay by the use, or do you kind of pay a monthly fee? What's the process
Yeah.
there?
Yes, it's a monthly fee. We have two tiers of membership: basic membership and elite membership. And basically, you pay certain amount for a number of free charges. So $150 per month gives you 8 charges per month. And if you uh, do that, on average, if you do it one by one, it turns out to be about $30 per charge.
Really?
So that's the economics these days. It also kind of varies depending on where you are, time of the day. There's a time of use rate. So sometimes it's more expensive than others, depending on the time of the day. In California during the summer, for instance, evening hours between 5 to 9 is a lot more expensive in terms of electrical rates. So but we can't be charging all that. We can't be translating all that to our customers because it would be ridiculous. So what we try to do is average it out, have one rate all day, and then make it more efficient and seem reasonable. But we have the 2 tiers of membership. Basically, you pay a certain amount. It gives you certain conveniences, rights, reservation systems, free Wi-Fi, free drinks, and a bunch more that I haven't even figured out yet. But having that membership gives you certain benefits in terms of using the facility, maybe perhaps being able to order meals ahead and bring it out to you if need be. You just do a check mark and we'll bring it out to your car if you want to, or you can come into our facility and use more quiet area, and that will be all part of the benefits that you would have.
I love it. What if you're not a member and you're just like me? I just rented a car and didn't know what I was doing. You still can
So
get in?
we have people on staff, and if you don't know how to use it, we'll come out and just turn it on. We'll have a button there that will just flip a switch and it'll turn it on, and you don't need to call out 800 numbers. You don't have to do a QR code and try to download an app and figure out all that. No, we will cut that all out and just make it as simple as you can do. And just like a gas station back in the 70s, you go there and there's always a guy that will put gas in for you.
Yeah.
And it should be that easy. And as you get trained on, and let's say you're a local resident, and you come around more often, then you figure out, and we'll show you how to download an app. And our system is such a way that eventually, once you're registered into our system, you don't have to use an app anymore. You just plug in, and then it'll automatically detect what car it is, because each car has its unique MAC address that we can detect using the car port, the plug. So the charger will recognize who you are, what car it is, and you'll follow its instructions to charge automatically and take money out of your credit card at the same time.
Wow, that's great. So when do you think your first location's going to go in?
We're in the process right now. We're talking with Southern California Edison Utility as early as last week,
Wow.
and we had an update information on where they are. But working with utility is not easy. I mean, they work at a speed of turtle. We want to be working at the speed of bunnies, but they work at a different speed. They have their way of doing things. They need certain requirements. They need certain procedures. Takes time. So on average, it takes anywhere between 9 months to 18 months before a facility can be built. So I have that plenty of time to iron out all these issues, build a retail space, do the painting, do the flooring, hire some staff, and do training. We do some, um, we'll do some soft openings so that we iron out all the issues that may be there with respect to preparing the menus and delivery of the meals.
Yeah.
Because Earth Cafe is gonna bring their meals as we select them. They're gonna deliver fresh every day. We have to refrigerate it very well, but on some items like pizza and pastries, they need to be heated. So we'll have to kind of find out what the optimum time and duration and temperature to recreate meals to be freshly available and provided to customers. We also have to practice all this, and so that when it actually is time to open, we're going to be up and running in an optimum manner as possible.
Yeah, very cool. So what have you picked a location yet? Do you know where the first one's going?
Yeah, the first location is going to be downtown Los Angeles. It's about maybe five minutes south of downtown Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
and we're expecting it to be an exciting place to be.
Yeah. Very good. And you're still doing some fundraising, right? So there's ways people can
Yeah,
get
so
involved
we're
in the
right
business
now we're
early.
on Start Engine. It's a retail invest anyone really. Retail investors can go to startengine.com. You can search for Getaway Space, and it'll tell you the amount to raise and what the company was valued at and all that. All that information is there, so you study it and then you can make an investment. You basically uh, you can purchase equity of the company to help us fund this effort.
Very cool. Yeah, as I think your vision that this is the next evolution of the gas station, I think is pretty spot on, right? So this is a way to kind of get into a new idea. The other thing I kind of came across when I was looking for a charging station was all the variability, right? Like, so will Teslas be able to charge here along with all of the other versions of cars? Are the connections and all that stuff getting standardized, or is that going to be an issue, do you think, going forward?
At the moment, up until last year, there were two standards. One's Tesla standard, and one's everybody else.
Yeah.
Because Tesla started first, they came up with a name called NAC. I think it's called NACS standard, NACS. And Tesla design is much more simple. It's much more narrower, smaller, and it looks cuter, I think, because it's got a small prongs and plugs in. But the industry, the the automotive industry came up with, these guys are everybody other than Tesla came up with CCS standard. So CCS is more bulkier. It's got like 6 prongs instead of three of Tesla's. I don't know how they did that, but that's
Yeah.
how it is. And then now, lately, starting this year, all the manufacturers like Ford, GM, BMW, and I forget exactly how many, but a lot of the automobile manufacturers of the United States start to change to NACS and
Really?
follow Tesla, so that they can actually drive. For instance, you can actually drive Ford Mach-E into Tesla supercharger station and now charge. Of course, you have to have an adapter. So what that is that you plug in Tesla charging port into an adapter, and that adapter gets plugged into the Ford Mach-E, and that's how it works. But as a Ford, if you're a Ford Mach-E driver, then at least you can go to Tesla and charge your car.
Yeah.
And same with a bunch of other companies, like I think Rivian is allowed to go, and perhaps some other cars I can't remember now. But there are more and more automobile manufacturers are allowed. I'm sure on the contract, and I think they also pay more money too than compared to Tesla owners. But what we do at Getaway Space is that we have a charger, have two cables. One's Tesla and one's everybody else CCS. So we support both. So we don't have to have an adapter. They just plug in and it should work.
Regular and unleaded, I think, is what we used to do, right?
That's exactly what this is.
That's great. Well, cool. What other things, technology wise, are you kind of looking at? Right? Are you doing anything with the AI stuff going on, or what other creative things are you kind of looking at adopting?
Really, I think the winner in this space is going to be somebody who knows how to maintain the equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you put the equipment up and running. I'm sure it's going to run fine for the first year, but as time goes on and people use, and a lot of juices are being provided by the equipment, it's going to start need repairs, and some of them will ultimately and inevitably it'll die.
Yeah.
And it'll be broken. So I think it's important to know that customers expect that to be, by default, it should work.
Yeah.
And everybody, as a customer, you expect EV charging station to work in a working condition, in good working condition. You don't really, for example, you don't really expect to go to a gas station and find it not working. I mean, once in a while, yeah, you do, but that's really hard to come by. Most of the time, you go to a gas station, it works. You put a pump, you pay for it, it turns on.
Yeah.
99% of the time, it does that. So for EV stations, same thing. The customers expect it to work. And for that to happen, the owner of the EV charging station, like Getaway Space, has to have something better than the common theme that, oh, is it broken? Oh, let me call up electrician. Hey, Mr. Electrician, how long will it take it for you to come? He's gonna say, I'm busy until next May.
Yeah.
And then, okay, we'll have to wait for it. And then when the time comes, he shows up, he orders parts, he says, you know what, your output board is bad, so we need 5 of those. Okay, so I call China and I ask, hey, when can you ship my five output boards? And they're gonna say, we need 6 months to ship them because we have supply chain issues.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's not how you run these things. I mean, that's why all these broken chargers are not being fixed. You need to have a localized technicians who are trained for the equipment that you're putting into a charging space. So Getaway Space is planning on having local technicians, our staff, either our staff or we will hire it out. But whatever we do, we'll have local staff maintaining this equipment and running on a regular maintenance. And we'll go out there. Well, we don't have to go out there because we're already there.
Right.
And we'll have staff knowing how to run these things. Open it up. Clean the fan.
Yeah.
Sort of kind of baby it so that it runs in a top condition that it should. because usually what happens is the fan gets dirty because it's Los Angeles. We're small. There's dust all over the place.
Yeah.
There's, everywhere else around Los Angeles. Los Angeles is covered with dust because we're in the middle of desert. So we have like dust storms on a weekly basis. So all this dust is gonna come into the fan, and the fan is gonna like grind, and it's gonna make noise. It's gonna like run slower, and
Yeah.
as it runs slower, what it's gonna do is it's gonna draw more current, and as it draws more current, the power supply is going to it's going to have to work harder. And that's what kills the system.
Yep.
So you want to clean it, you want to maintain the fan very well, you want to make sure that the equipment is working well. I just gave you one simple example how and what a maintenance is going to play, and how that's going to keep the equipment running very well over a long time. And plus, you want to have certain well-stocked version of your spare parts. I
Right.
mean, by now, you should know which boards are prone to go bad, which power supply is prone to go bad. These information is already available from the manufacturer. They build thousands of these every month. They should know which one's kind of like prone to go bad. They will let you know.
Yep.
So you buy a lot of those and keep it in stock, and as you go through, you replace it. And as time goes on, they'll improve on it because they know which one goes back first because they designed it wrong, or they design margins not enough. And they'll improve it. And over time, it's going to get improved. And then, I don't want to have to keep buying the equipment every 5 years. I want to buy once and maintain it very well and
Yep.
use it for 10 years. And that's how you make money.
Yep. Blow out a capacitor, have a bunch of new ones sitting around that you can throw in, and you're gonna have some people doing some soldering, I bet, somewhere. So
It's precisely, it's the capacitors that dries out
yep.
over the time because of the temperature and the working current that's running through capacitors. It just loses the capacity to run as a capacitor. Eventually, it works as though nothing's there. Therefore, the output becomes more edgy, more choppy, and that causes issue
That's
down
it.
the line. And that's
Variability.
what kills the equipment.
Yep. You start getting that variability in the line, and then you're no longer smooth, right? So.
That's right. That's right.
And what about metering, right? Have you figured out how do you gauge how much power people are using? Isn't that hasn't that always been kind of a challenge?
It turns out that the manufacturer of the equipment, the DC fast chargers, they have an automatic way of measuring and reporting the power used by each equipment. So we'll have per site, we'll have and reporting on a daily basis as to how much power that he has used over the course of the day, over the course of the month, and over the course of the year. So that reporting on the power use will be very well tracked, because it's one of those things that we have to report to state agencies. They want to know how well it works and so on. The power utility is very, very much regulated because they give these companies a monopoly in certain, basically it's a monopoly. I mean, they carve out an area, and there's only one utility company per location anyway. So, and they dictate what needs to be done, and that's a condition of bringing power.
Yep.
And while it takes a long time, once you get there, you're going to get all that power, and each one of our locations is going to take about 3 megawatts of power, and that's a huge amount.
Wow.
And they get to dictate certain terms, and one of them is okay, you should measure how much power you're using every day.
Yeah.
And
Well,
report to us.
yeah, and it's like, the spinner on the pump at the gas station, right? I mean, they're able to precisely measure exactly, to the tenth of a gallon, right? How much fuel you're using. So I imagine this will be similar. What type of technology do you see coming around the corner, and are you getting prepared? So one of the things I've already seen, just because all the cables keep getting stolen from the charging stations, is they're already looking at like cableless charging, right? With no actual connection.
There is a wireless charging. You know how cell phones used to be always had to be connected to a wire to be charging, and sometime later they came up with a wireless charging for cell phones. Well, the similar thing exists even for electric vehicles as well, but the alignment for it to work efficiently. I mean, if it didn't work efficiently, then you're wasting money. So you want it to work efficiently. By that, what I mean is that you put in like say 200,000 200 kilowatts of power into the car, into the EV. You'd want like 95% or more to get there.
Right.
And that's what happens if you plug in with a wire. But if you use wireless charging, it's very hard to align. So you have to use an automatic alignment. You have to use, the movable alignment tool that is inside the parking lot as part of that. It has to be on level with asphalt. So it's a lot of structural changes that will be coming to support that. And then the automobile itself will have to have that kind of option built in,
Right.
so that it will lower its thing and be made. All that stuff is very complicated and it's very easy to go bad.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we're far away from seeing any commercialized technology in terms of wireless charging. I think it's just easier to put a human security guard so that it's guarded all the time.
Yeah.
So that maybe that's the easier solution. But I think it's just the cost is going to go up if the guys keep coming back and take away the copper for $5 that they're going to earn by selling it at dark corner street somewhere per wire. So that's nothing we can do about it. It's just cost of doing business.
Yeah.
It's part of the insurance that goes up, and we all have to divide that up and pay it. But I think we want to have security guard anyway in our facilities. Unlike some of the other facilities, like none of the competitors, like Tesla, even EVgo, Blink, Electrify America, none of them have security guards, and we want to have a security guard because when you average out and you're making whatever projected amount of revenue per year,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, how bad is it to have a security guard 24/7? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, sure, my bottom line is going to be off by a few cents per share basis, but I don't care. I would rather have a secure security safe, at least having someone around all the time around Getaway Space so that people coming to our location will feel safe. I think it's more beneficial than few cents of bottom line.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that becomes a differentiator for you as well. It's only going to take one incident where someone gets robbed at a EV station because there's nobody there, right, looking out for anyone, and they get their car stolen and everything else, and till that makes the news, and then everyone's going to be saying EV station with security, right, and I think that
Right,
that becomes a niche.
Well, it is true that there's no guarantee that none of that will happen. We just have to do the best we could to provide a facility, provide steps and procedures necessary to make it as safe as we can, so that it's enjoyable, that it's worthwhile coming back to. And when you do come back in the middle of the night, you see enough of the people around that you feel safe. I
Yeah.
think that's important.
Yeah, I agree, especially downtown LA, right?
Well, anywhere in LA. I mean, even if it's Beverly Hills, LA. I mean, it doesn't matter really.
That's a good point. All right, cool. So, what other types of things do you see coming down the road? I mean, what do now that you're going deep into the EV vehicle space? What do you predict is the next great invention?
I think again, Tesla is leading, and I see a lot of the robo taxis might be coming out. Uh, Driverless cars, driverless vans. I'm already thinking that how we have to receive our food supplies from Earth Cafe. I'm already thinking, oh, maybe I should lease robo van from Tesla and use it from 12 p.m. to 2 o'clock and go around and go to the Earth Cafe factory, pick up our stuff and bring it to us. And then I send it back, and then I just lease it for 2 hours a day. I think then I'll have to hire a driver, so
No,
that'll save me money.
that's a great idea. Yeah, yeah, that's so automatic delivery services, but on a leased vehicle for short periods of time. So real efficient and
Yeah, Tesla's demoing. They're saying they're going to have it out in a few years. Waymo, the Google company, Waymo is also doing that. I see Waymo driving driverless in Los Angeles all the time now.
yeah,
Uh, and they seem to be doing just fine. Of course, they have like a zillion number of sensors on the car. They got a like RF thing, and they have the laser thing. All these sensors going around, they're moving,
I
and they
know.
got like maybe dozen more other sensors that I don't even know about. But as they get commercialized over the time, I'm sure it's coming. It's driverless EVs are coming. I think they're here to stay.
Yeah, I was down in Phoenix a while back, and they're all over down there. And there was some crazy reports of, they get stuck sometimes when they see other EVs, right? So they
I
uh,
see.
they were all getting like pulled into one street, and they couldn't move because of the other electric vehicles there. I don't know if it was a sensor issue, but yes, so it just made me think, I'm not quite ready to take that risk yet. And then a bunch of them actually have real drivers in them, right? And they, it was almost like testing, I think, a little bit. So, still
Yeah,
still a
like
ways to
anything
go.
else, we'll figure it out. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think your point about all the sensors and all that stuff, I think that'll get resolved as well. I have a patent for managing vehicle traffic, and I've always thought, will it get to where we don't drive anymore, or will it be that the highway just controls the vehicle you have based on the traffic around you? So it's going to be an interesting world when we get to all that stuff. Because I would love to just be able to get in the car and tell it where to go and then take a nap, but and know you're going to be safe and not have some crazy guy trying to pass you at 98 miles an hour and wrecking your car.
All right.
All right. Anything else you want to go over? What else is going on in your world these days?
That's about it. I'm busy doing the fundraising. Today I have an interview with a venture capital firm. Hopefully that goes well.
Very good.
I'm like pitching virtually once per day, twice per day sometimes.
Good. Good for you.
So I'm just busy doing the fundraising, and until we have enough funds raised, I'm going to be keep doing that, and then I'll be signing up a lease and receive a letter from Edison Company for their $1 million. Well, they were supposed to. It's a forward-looking statement
Yeah.
that they're going to invest a non-dilutive $1 million into Getaway Space, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And I expect to see it by the end of the year, and hopefully that comes through. And that will help us move forward with the installation of the equipment and so on.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to introduce you to some folks over at Colorado Clean Tech. They want to talk to you as well, and there's
Right? That's great.
there's a bunch of people that they think that you should be talking to for venture capital stuff. So we're going to get you connected. Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think this is really, one of those neat ideas that could, really potentially take off. And that whole idea of the next version of the gas station, I think is really pertinent. And I think you've got you've kind of considered all of the right factors, right? And making people feel secure. The reservation system, I think, is key, and just making it comfortable, and instead of having to sit in your car and hang out on your phone, you can actually have, sorry, edit. You can get out and go check out the Wi-Fi and have a cup of coffee or a snack. And so I think it's really a great idea, and I can't wait to go and check out the ribbon cutting at the first location in downtown LA. It should be a great day.
I'll call you up and ask you to be there.
All right. All right, Steve. Thank you very much for joining today. It's been great catching up and talking to you as always. And then I know we'll be staying in touch, so we'll be talking again soon. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right.